I'm glad to see you on the Warrior of Honor channel. The confrontation between Russia and Ukraine continues. Today we will talk about what happened in the last couple of days, and a lot of interesting things happened. Let's start with the combat map. The front line in recent days has been characterized by a massive shelling from both sides. A rocket attack was launched in the north of Ukraine. As a result, one Ukrainian civilian was killed. A series of explosions also took place in the Kharkiv region. Russia continues shelling of peaceful cities. There were also explosions in Kramatorsk. According to the latest data, there are no victims. A particularly strong explosion occurred at Kurakovo, where Russian troops fired on a power plant. The Ukrainian troops did not leave the invaders unanswered and struck deep into the occupied territory along the gas pipeline in Lagutino. As for the southern front, there were also strikes against concentrations of troops in Tokmak and the Crimea in Zankoy. The locals reported that it was very loud. Also, Ukraine shelling damages two power plants in Donetsk. Say officials Reuters is reporting two thermal power plants were damaged by Ukrainian shelling in Russian-controlled parts of the country's Donetsk region, Moscow-installed officials said on Sunday. Russian attacks were reported on Saturday in at least 7 regions in Ukraine's east and south over the previous 24 hours, despite Moscow's ceasefire declaration for Orthodox Christmas. At least 3 people were slain. Russian troops shelled the Kherson region 39 times on Friday, according to Governor Yaroslav Yanushevich. Residential buildings and a fire station building came under fire in the liberated city of Kherson, where a first responder was slain. 7 civilians were also wounded in the Raigon. Ukraine's military said 2 were slain and 13 injured in Russia's shelling of Bakhmut, eastern Ukraine, during the purported ceasefire. The Bakhmut and Soledar directions are still the hardest point, where the Ukrainian troops heroically hold the line. In yesterday's report, we said that Russian troops are having some success in the Soledar direction. Now, according to official reports, the Ukrainian army is pushing the Russian one near the Soledar. We will watch developments. According to the report of the General Staff over the past day, Russia has lost 430 personnel, 3 tanks, 5 armored vehicles, 3 artillery systems, and 5 unmanned aerial vehicles. The UK Ministry of Defence said fighting between Russian and Ukrainian forces continued at a routine level into the Orthodox Christmas period. The ministry's daily intelligence update stated that fighting was focused in heavily forested terrain to the west of the town of Kreminna in eastern Ukraine's Luhansk province, where combat has devolved to dismounted infantry fighting, often at short range. The U.S. has asked Italy to provide air defense systems to Ukraine as soon as possible. The Italian newspaper La Repubblica reported that the request was made in a conversation between the U.S. National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, and Francesco Tallo, an advisor to the Italian Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni. The Ukrainian President, Volodymyr Zelensky, has praised the U.S. for including tank-killing armored vehicles in its latest multi-billion-dollar package of military aid, saying they are exactly what is needed. The latest U.S. military assistance announced on Friday by the White House was the biggest to date for Kyiv, and for the first time included Bradley armored vehicles. Now let's talk about the international reaction to the events in Ukraine. There are a lot of interesting things here. Demands for a special tribunal to investigate Russia for a crime of aggression against Ukraine have been backed by senior UK politicians from across the political divide in a move to show Vladimir Putin and his generals that they will be held to account. In a joint statement shared with The Observer, figures including the Labour leader Keir Starmer, the former NATO Secretary General George Robertson, the former Foreign Secretary David Owen, and former Tory leader Ian Duncan Smith say the tribunal should be set up to look into the manifestly illegal war on the same principles that guided the Allies when they met in 1941 to lay the groundwork for the Nuremberg war crimes trials of Nazi leaders. Summing up, we can conclude that Russia, despite the announced truce, continued to shell both the front-line positions of the Ukrainian military and peaceful cities. The front does not move globally, and the battles are local and operational in nature. The Ukrainian army pushes back the Russian one from Soledar and confidently holds the defense of the Bakhmut direction. We wish strength and good luck to the Ukrainian army in the fight against the invaders on their land. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and be the first to know the latest information about the situation in Ukraine.